In the heart of Nigeria, in a small, quiet town barely mentioned in the news, a tragedy unfolded. But from that tragedy emerged a fire. A fire that could not be quenched by bullets. A faith that could not be silenced by fear. This is the true story of the Deeper Life Bible Church in Otite, Kogi State, and how an attack meant to destroy birthed a revival. Stay with us. Otite is a small community nestled on the outskirts of Okan, in Kogi State. Life there was simple, humble. The streets bore the sounds of children playing, traders calling, and families going about their day. Among the many buildings stood a modest church, a place of prayer, of fellowship, of light. Deeper Life Bible Church had become a spiritual refuge for many in the community. Every week, worshippers gathered to seek God's face. They sang. They prayed. They studied the Word. But on one particular Tuesday, August 7th, 2012, something unimaginable happened. A night like every other turned into a nightmare. The attack. It was just after sunset. Evening Bible study had begun. Believers sat with their Bibles open, some with notebooks, hearts hungry for God. There was no sign of danger. No hint of the evil that crept in the shadows. Then, it happened. 3 men, armed with AK-47 rifles, faces masked, eyes cold. The first slipped quietly into the church compound, and with calculated intent, switched off the generator. The lights vanished. Darkness swallowed the building. Confusion. Whispers. Then, gunfire. Bullets pierced the air and ripped through bodies. People screamed. Others cried out the name of Jesus. Some never got the chance. 15 lives were taken instantly. Men, women, even a child. 4 more would later die in the hospital. What was once a sanctuary of peace became a killing field. The floor, once a place of kneeling in prayer, was now soaked in blood. It wasn't just murder. It was a message. The bigger picture. The attack wasn't random. It was part of a growing wave of terror in northern Nigeria, where Christian communities had come under violent assault. Churches burned. Pastors kidnapped. Worshippers slaughtered. Why? Because they dared to call on the name of Jesus. Because they refused to bow to fear or compromise their faith. The Deeper Life Church in Otite wasn't rich. It wasn't political. But it was faithful. And for that reason alone, it became a target. The enemy thought fear would win. That blood would silence worship. But they were wrong. The aftermath. The following days were filled with sorrow. Funerals were held. Families wept. The nation mourned. Some survivors were hospitalized, nursing not just wounds on their bodies, but wounds on their souls. A question hung heavy in the air. Would they return? Would the church ever gather again? Would the survivors ever trust again? But something astonishing happened. The very next week, the believers came back. To the same church. On the same day. At the same time. Some still limped. Some had bandages. Some had lost husbands, wives, children. But they came. They lifted their voices again, not in anger, but in worship. And heaven stood still. The testimony of faith. What the enemy didn't know is that the blood of the saints is not in vain. History tells us that persecution never kills the church. It refines it. It strengthens it. In Otite, the blood that was spilled became the seed of something greater. The local news couldn't ignore it. The community couldn't understand it. People asked, why would anyone still go back there? What kind of God is worth dying for? What kind of faith still sings after such sorrow? And as they asked, they came to see. And when they saw, they believed. Conversions increased. The altar was no longer empty. It overflowed. Former cultists laid down their charms. Muslims asked questions about Christ. Families that once mocked Christians now joined the fellowship. The church that was attacked became a beacon. The quiet revival. It wasn't a loud revival. No headlines. No fanfare. Just a quiet flame that began to spread. From Otite, to Okan, to Lokoja, to other towns across Kogi State. The Deeper Life churches in the region reported an unusual hunger for God. Prayer meetings doubled. Evangelism efforts tripled. Souls were saved. Those slain, those precious 19 lives, did not die in vain. They became martyrs. Their legacy, a living church, a thriving faith. To this day, some members still carry physical scars. Some children grew up without parents. Some widows still visit the graves of their loved ones. But ask them if they regret following Jesus. They'll say, never. Because they know that eternity holds a crown far greater than any pain on earth. Final reflections. In the eyes of the world, Otite is a small, obscure town. But in heaven, it shines. For there, in that town, men and women chose Christ over comfort. They chose worship over worry. And their story must be told. Let it remind us that the church is not a building, it is a people. A people who carry the cross, no matter the cost. Let it challenge us to live boldly, to preach passionately, to never take our freedom for granted. Because somewhere, someone is paying the price for the faith we enjoy. The Deeper Life Church in Kogi State still stands, not because of brick and mortar, but because of the Spirit of God. And to the terrorists who tried to silence the gospel, you failed. You spilled blood, but God planted a harvest. You shot bullets, but God released revival. You thought you ended lives, but God wrote their names in eternal gold. And to the church across the world, hear this. Persecution may come. The night may fall. The guns may roar. But the church will not die. From Otite to the ends of the earth, let revival rise.